Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Chris Winter and today I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Sigma 24mm to 35mm f2 lens. Now I'll take a look at the build quality, the autofocus, and of course check out the image quality, this interesting new lens from Sigma. And you know, after the success of the 18 to 35 from Sigma, I'm actually really interested to see just how well this lens performs as well. So let's check it out. So the first thing you notice when you pick up this lens is that it's built like an absolute tank. Even compared to some of the other Sigma art lenses, this lens is actually really quite heavy and really quite big. And for good reason though, because this lens here is actually designed for both full frame and crop censored cameras, something that the Sigma 18 to 35 wasn't. Now I've been testing this lens out on crop sensor bodies, and for sure it's a little bit heavy on something like a T3i or a 70D, but you know, if you throw it onto something like the Canon 5D Mark III, I think this is going to feel right at home. And just like the other Sigma art lenses, the build quality is really fantastic on this lens. On the front, we've got a very nice and smooth focus ring, and at the back here, we have a very nice and smooth zoom ring. And good news for cinematographers, all of the zooming is done internally, so you can put this up on a rig, put it up on some rails, and you're gonna have no problems. On the back here, we've got a solid metallic mount, something that's pretty important on a big heavy lens like this. And another nice feature is that Sigma's included a lens hood, which is always a nice touch. Now let's talk about bokeh, or the background blur. Now, like I said before, I've been testing this lens out on crop sensor bodies because, you know, that's what I use. But even with the smaller sensor, you can really get some lovely out of focus areas. And with a lot of these new Sigma lenses, we are getting 9 rounded aperture blades, which is really good because we are going to be getting that smooth and creamy bokeh. So as you can see though, overall, I think this is a really nice lens for some nice bokeh. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this video, I'd absolutely love it if you leave a thumbs up because that's always appreciated. But anyway, let's go on to the next part of the review. Now let's talk about this lens for use in video work, and even though it does have a very short focal range, I can definitely see cinematographers using this lens. And that's because many cinematographers choose primes over zooms for both their image quality and their wide apertures, so having one less lens to change when you're on a shoot is definitely a positive. And as you can see, the video quality is actually really quite good. Now there is no image stabilization on this lens, but you know, that would have made this lens so big and probably a little bit too big to handhold, so I'm actually quite happy that they've left it out. And like I said before, all of the zooming is actually done internally, and we do have a very nice zoom ring. So if you are going to be using this up on a set of rails, you're going to be having no problems whatsoever. So let's quickly talk about the autofocus for this Sigma 24 to 35. For stills, I've actually been really impressed. Now, for such a big zoom lens with a wide aperture, we're actually getting some decent results, and autofocus is pretty quick. And as you can probably hear, it's actually quite a quiet lens for autofocus, especially during stills mode, and I've actually found it very accurate, which is always nice with a Sigma lens. So let's now do a quick test with a video autofocus. I'll throw it onto my Canon 70D and we'll see how that performs as well. All right guys, I've got the 24 to 35 on my Canon 70D. Let's test out the autofocus. As you can see, it's actually working really quite well. It's quite quick, it's quite smooth, but it is a little bit noisy. Not too bad. All right, I'm just going to do a quick test with face tracking autofocus and see just how well this Sigma can keep me in focus with the Canon 70D. We are at f2 by the way, so it is the maximum aperture. Seems like it's doing a really good job. I gotta say, I'm in love with that bokeh behind there. How good does that look? Anyway, let's get on to the next part of this video. So I quickly wanted to show you guys the focal range of this lens. Again, this is on a crop sensor body, but it will give you a good idea of just how big, well, or how little really the zoom range is. So here we are at 24mm or roughly 38mm on a crop sensor body like I'm using right now. And as you can see, it's a really pleasant image. Let's zoom all the way in to 35mm, and that's it. So I mean, it's not a huge focal range. In fact, it's a very small focal range, and it almost seems like, what's the point? But you know what? This is actually a zoom lens with an f2 aperture that fits on a full frame body. So you've got to give props to Sigma for at least trying to innovate in this lens. Now let's take a look at some of the image samples I've taken with this Sigma 24 to 35. Now, although it's definitely not a lens I'd use every day, I definitely had a lot of fun with it. Now, as with most of the art series lenses, image quality has been superb, and it's incredibly sharp from the center all the way to the edges, and the color reproduction is great. Now, I did find that the images really popped, even on a day like today when we've been having a lot of rain, which is nice to see. Now from what I've heard, there is quite a lot of vignetting on a full frame body, but that's to be expected. And on a body like this one here, which is a crop censored body, the results are very good and we're getting not much vignetting at all. So overall, I'd say this is another winner in terms of image quality from Sigma. So let's talk about price. And this lens isn't super cheap, but nor should it be. Now at around about $1,000, it might seem like quite a lot of money, especially for a lens with such a short zoom range. But when you consider the price of a fast 24mm lens, a fast 30mm lens, and a fast 35mm lens, and you add them all up, that's going to be a lot more than this $1,000, and you are getting some really nice image quality with this lens. And to be honest, if Canon or Nikon were to bring out a lens like this, it sure as well wouldn't be $1,000, I don't think. So overall, it's another fantastic lens from Sigma. Is it something I'd buy for myself? Well, probably not. And that's mainly because I don't shoot on a full frame body. I generally shoot on a Canon 70D. That's what I like to use. So this one here is not exactly for me. It is probably something that I would rent though, especially if I'm going to be doing a wedding or a video shoot. And speaking of that, guys, if you are looking to try this lens out or just to rent any lenses, go check out the guys at Brisbane Camera Hire because they've been awesome supporters of me over this year, and I wouldn't be able to make all these videos without them. So I'll put a link in the description box below and go check them out. So there we have it, guys, another fantastic lens from Sigma. Sorry about the wind. Who would have known there'd be wind out in outside. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.